New gadgets mean busy weekends, so before we get flying it, let's unbox the brand new DJI Mini 2. Hi, I'm Ash from DroningON, and if you want the latest in the drone industry, be sure to click that subscribe button down below. Also, if you want to be part of something really special, then click the join button so you can join the DroningON Club, behind the scenes of which is a growing community of drone enthusiasts chatting day and night on our dedicated Discord server and more. Anyway, thanks to our friends over at Swedrone, a drone specialist supplier in Sweden, we've got the brand new Mini 2, and we're going to be opening up the box today to take a look at what's inside, and this is the first part of a full video series talking about this special little drone. We've got the DJI Mini 2 Combo Fly More package here, so without further ado, let's take a look at what's inside the box. So the Fly More Combo comes in this lovely box, and inside we've got the usual leather bag that we also actually saw with the Mavic Air 2. In fact, if I just grab my Mavic Air 2 bag, absolutely identical in every way. The texture feels a little bit different. The Mavic Mini one feels cheaper. Inside this bag, we've got everything that you get with the combo bundle. So I think probably the best thing to do is just get everything out first. We've got the transmitter, the controller, which is exactly the same as the one from the Mavic Air 2. We've got the Mini 2 as well, and I just know I'm going to call this thing the Mavic Mini 2 by accident. We've also got a charging hub in here with 2 batteries in there as well, which is nice, and that charging hub is lovely and compact and actually protects the batteries quite nicely when you're traveling as well, I'd imagine. We'll have a closer look at that later. Got a USB cable, a USB-C charging cable there. We've also got the regular USB-C connector, which you actually use for the transmitter. We've got a charging brick, USB charging brick, quite standard, nothing very special there. Another cable here as well, another USB-C charging cable, that's interesting. Now, I remember when I unboxed the Mavic Air 2, I actually forgot to look in the little zip pocket at the top of the bag. And in there, we're hiding a few surprises, such as ND filters. Let's see what we get with this one. Okay, so we've got spare props, which is good. We've got 4 spare props, 6 spare props. Okay, lovely. And that's nice because obviously with the combo, the drone actually comes with the props already fitted, so you get those extra ones in the bag as well. We've got a little screwdriver for undoing these props. We'll talk about those props later. And we've got some spare little sticks for our controller. Now, the controller actually comes with sticks anyway, so they are actually spares. And that is actually it. There's nothing more in the bag. It would have been nice to throw in a few ND filters, especially seen as the Mini 2 actually costs more than the original Mavic Mini, but it is what it is. So we'll get onto all of these accessories a little bit later, but of course the first thing we're going to look at is the drone, because that's the bit that you're all interested in. Now, next to it here, I've actually got the original Mavic Mini as a comparison. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the Mini 2 comes with this prop guard, which is quite nice, but a little bit awkward. I actually don't like the way that this prop guard holds the props down towards the body, because actually that potentially is going to distort the props, which was one of the big problems with the original Mini when you stowed this thing away. If you weren't careful, you'd accidentally warp the props in a way that actually caused them to hit the body during flight. So when you do take off this special little harness, just make sure that your props are not bent in any way, and that when you look down the line of them, that they are nice and straight there with no distortion. But this one looks good anyway. It's of course covered in stickers, which you'll need to take off before you start flying as well, of course. You don't have to take them off, but I actually like to keep them on. So with it all unpacked and the 2 drones side by side, you can see that they are absolutely identical. Some reviewers for some reason said that the one was taller than the other, but actually if I stand them on their backs like that, you can see that they're exactly the same height. There is absolutely no difference there at all. Put them back to back as well, and you can see again that they are the same height. The only visual aesthetic difference between these 2 drones actually is the little light on the front of this one here. The little light is quite nice because I think it's going to definitely help users of this drone with orientation and knowing which is the front of the drone and which is the back when it's flying. But yeah, the drones are basically exactly the same physically. However, the Mavic Mini 2 does feel slightly different in texture and build quality, but I don't know if that's just an illusion. It's hard to tell. Looking at the arms on here, the arms are slightly different design actually. The Mavic Mini 2 looks slightly better quality there, in fact. If you look at the arms, you can see here that the moldings are much cleaner on the Mini 2, so the production quality potentially is a little bit higher on this version. Now, when unfolding the rear legs, one thing that's very key and noticeable is that the screws are no longer visible on the underside. It looks like they've actually put a bit of a cap on there. I guess it protects them if there's any dirt or reason to protect it. It is a soft kind of texture, this little pad that they've got on here, so I think you could probably very easily remove that. Maybe they've done it to be more aerodynamic. I don't know, but I really don't see much of a need for that. If anything, that's probably multiplied by 2, going to add a tiny bit of extra weight. Looking at the underside of the two drones, again, virtually no physical or aesthetic differences between them. The only thing I do notice, however, is that the little light on the rear is actually pressable on the new drone. I don't know what that does yet, we're going to find out. But yeah, you can't press it on the old one, you can on the new one. Then, of course, looking around the back of the drone, we can see that we've obviously got USB-C on the new model, which is just lovely. Great to finally have USB-C on a product like this, because everything I have is USB-C. So the next big question that everyone keeps asking is about batteries. If we just open up the rear battery bay compartments on both of these, and we take out the battery from the original Mavic Mini, let's see if that will fit into the new Mini 2. And it does. And the flap closes, and there's power indication there as well. So very interestingly, the new Mini 2 can be powered from the batteries from the original Mavic Mini. Now, we will test it firing up fully later on, but that's a really interesting point to note. So if you have the original Mavic Mini, maybe you've got more than one battery for it, you'll be able to use them in this in theory. However, do remember that these batteries on the new drone are slightly different, and that might have some consequences later on. The other thing to note is if we try and install one of the new Mini 2 batteries in the old Mini, it doesn't fit at all. So clearly that's intentional. I guess the new battery technology doesn't work in the old drone, and that's why they've actually changed the form factor of this, so it won't fit in any way at all. Next is the all-important gimbal. So let's remove those gimbal covers on there. This is a bit of a surprise because despite the fact that the new Mini 2 has a 4K camera, the two gimbals are absolutely identical in what I can see in every single way. The only difference there is, of course, that the new camera says 4K on it, and also looking down at those cameras very closely, you can see actually that the iris on the 4K camera is slightly bigger. Other than that, the two gimbals are absolutely identical. So clearly DJI have not really changed anything there, which is, you know, not a bad thing because it's not a bad little gimbal. Now, you might remember my wind test where I took the original Mavic Mini out and flew it in winds over, I think, 25 miles per hour. The stability of that gimbal was shockingly good. And so the fact that they haven't changed it for me isn't a bad thing at all. Now onto the motors and the props. Now, the main thing I notice here is that these new props are much stiffer, and I think probably even twice as much, because the original Mavic Mini had lots of issues with props striking the body during flight, which would even drop it out of the sky in some cases. So it's good to see that DJI have stiffened up those props, which of course also should give this new drone more power and stability in the air. Now, there were also reports of the Mini 2 having more powerful motors. Just looking at the two, comparing them side by side, they look to be exactly the same diameter and depth. I can't quite tell whether the windings are the same, but I must say they look the same to me, so I don't think there's been any change there from what I can see. However, what I can see is they've obviously changed the design of the motor because the windings are nowhere near as protected on the new Mini 2. They've removed one of the tiny little metal crossbars here, which actually cover and protect those very delicate windings, and the new drone doesn't have that. So not a massive issue, but these new motors are definitely more exposed, and you really want to be careful about getting dirt inside there, especially with there being less protection of that motor and the windings inside it. So overall, some very minor aesthetic changes between these two drones, but nothing really substantial. What we'll do now is take a look at the other accessories that came with it. So we're not going to spend long talking about these, but basically this is the transmitter that comes with the new Mini 2. It's effectively exactly the same model transmitter as the transmitter that comes with the Mavic Air 2. OcuSync 2 capable. The only key differences are on the switches here in the middle, one of which, instead of saying tripod mode, now says cine mode, which, yeah, that's absolutely fine, because actually that reflects what it says in the DJI Fly app. It doesn't say tripod mode in the app, it does actually say cine mode, and I think they've just done that for consistency with the software. The other difference, of course, is that they've added the return to home button with a pause icon on there, meaning that now when you're flying, if you hit that pause button, the drone will stop any of its intelligent flight modes that it's flying and basically pause in the sky. So I guess that's kind of an emergency thing that they've added, and it's good for beginners, of course, because, you know, they do need that kind of level of safety when they're flying a drone that they're not really used to flying. But besides that, these two transmitters are, from what I can see, absolutely identical, besides those two little buttons and the wording on the switches. I'm not going to bother talking about props because they're just props. Then we've got the battery charging hub. Now, I do like this. I really like this, in fact. You basically lock the batteries in the same way that you're actually putting them into the drone, and then it charges them, probably in series rather than in parallel, but it's very lightweight, nice and portable, very nice. Slot the batteries in, plug it in via USB-C. You can see we've got the little port on the side there. And also, which is quite nice, is a little power button and also a full-size USB port. So I'm guessing that you can actually plug in your mobile phone, for example, into that and charge it up directly if you're on the move. That's really nice, especially if you've been out on a day of flying, your batteries have been drained down to maybe 15%, 20%, and you want to use the extra power that's left just to charge up your USB device, whether it's your phone or even the transmitter. You could actually charge that from this power bank as well. But with the combo package, you do get 3 batteries in total. One comes installed in the drone and the other 2 are in this charging hub. Now, I've always loved the Mavic Mini, the original, and I think that this Mini 2 is just natural progression. I would actually like to have seen a little bit more evolution in the actual body of this, maybe to make it a little bit more streamlined, or maybe, I don't know, just a bit different, because DJI have moved now towards every drone looking the same, from the Mavic 2 to the Mavic Air 2 and now to the Mavic Mini 2. And I'd just like to see a little bit of aesthetic evolution to make it, I don't know, a little less retro looking, because there is something a bit retro about this. But then again, it's a drone that shoots 4K footage, has OcuSync and potentially under FCC a range of 10 kilometers. It flies for 31 minutes and it can shoot 4K video. It's also genuinely and legitimately pocket size, which really no other drone is today. And not only that, but it's just a very capable drone. Even the original Mini that had its issues in wind, this thing compromises and solves many of those challenges through having better props, better battery technology, and overall more stability. So DJI have really worked wonders with this little drone, and no doubt if you buy one of these, you're not going to be unhappy. There was a lot of questions around Mavic Air 2 versus Mavic Mini, and it was a no-brainer because the Mavic Air 2 has 4K video and loads of other features, including a ton of sensors all around it. But I have to say, now that the Mini 2 is out, it really will get people thinking about which drone they really need, because the capability now to shoot 4K video and getting rid of the frustrations of having only Wi-Fi with the original Mavic Mini are solved with this little package. The next thing we need to do is take this little thing out and fly it, and that's what we'll be doing in the next video. If there's anything specific that you'd love to see me testing about this new little Mini 2 drone, then just comment below and let me know, because these videos are for you. They're not for me, and I want to show you guys exactly what you want to see. Beyond the regular marketing reviews that you've probably already seen on launch day, I want you to see the real world testing of this drone and what it's truly capable of. I hope you've enjoyed this first video. Give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you're a bit unstable in wind, and hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching.